Good morning to you. This is the Wednesday, June 15th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here along with you. Let's start off with a couple of web cameras across the state. Look at the Avalon Pier web camera. Pretty neat there. That bank of clouds breaking just on the horizon there. Where you can see the sky brightening here close to sunrise. Beach Mountain Parkway cam, courtesy of resortcams.com. Pretty quiet this morning. It is 73 at Kill Devil Hills and 66 high atop Beach Mountain. The humidity values increased across the region yesterday. Once again, 93, a hot day in Charlotte, 96 in Columbia. I had, again, a couple of folks near the Georgia and South Carolina border up around 100. It was mainly upper 80s around the Triad viewing area for highs yesterday afternoon. With time, it got muggier, and it was muggy all day around the Charlotte region, low to mid 90s for highs out there. And we did see some pretty big thunderstorms pop across South Carolina and southern North Carolina. More on that in just a second. There's a rundown of your temperatures this morning. 73 in Charlotte, 74 in Columbia during the 5 o'clock hour. Look at Charleston at 80, close to 80 in Wilmington and Jacksonville. In this warm and soupy type of air. There's your dew points. They're up there. Ooh, that's nasty. 78 degrees at dew point in Wilmington, 77 in Jacksonville, 72 in Columbia, 70 in Charlotte. We are now steeped in the humidity across the region. Speaking of yesterday, these were the thunderstorms that developed across the region. Looks like the connection here a little bit jumpy, but you get the idea. Those scattered showers and thunderstorms from South Carolina up into southern North Carolina. And some of those storms were severe and produced some wind damage. And multiple reports of some wind and a little bit of hail in a couple spots, but mainly wind. Parts of South Carolina, southern North Carolina, including a couple of these reports here from right around the immediate Charlotte area. There's a hail report there right from near downtown. I'll show you what that looks like. And that was a 8/10 of an inch hail report that during the 8 o'clock hour. We also had a fire department a report of a tree blown down on Kistler Avenue in the 8 o'clock hour. So again, some big thunderstorms late afternoon yesterday and into the evening hours. Now, the past couple of hours quiet, a few lingering sprinkles in parts of central North Carolina left over from yesterday's storms. That is about it in most spots. Now you look off to the southwest, some scattered storms into Alabama, even a storm early this morning in northeast Georgia, moving into the mountains. Big thunderstorms rumbling this morning through parts of Missouri that have been severe at times, complex of storms in Illinois and Indiana. That is with our next storm system that drops in here later tomorrow into Friday. More on that in just a second. In terms of today, again, the higher humidity levels are back in place, and in this soupy air, as you heat it up, the air mass becomes unstable and supportive of scattered thunderstorms. The latest high-resolution rapid refresh, which ends about 5 o'clock or so this afternoon, shows you the coverage of scattered thunderstorms beginning to increase out there in this warm and humid setup. There's your highs across the region today. And again, just as a for instance, here's your Triad dew points on Futurecast today. They're really getting up there. So we are at least in the uncomfortable territory and maybe at times, especially later today, up into the oppressive territory on the dew point comfort scale. Now, as we get into the day tomorrow, interesting that the Storm Prediction Center has kept a slight risk of severe weather over a good chunk of the Appalachians and into parts of the northwestern sections of North Carolina, but I just don't see a whole lot of support there for widespread thunderstorms. I think there could be a few thunderstorms out there tomorrow, certainly, and the storms that do pop could be strong, but I don't think anything overly widespread for your Thursday. High's pretty steamy. Now, as you get into Friday, that low pressure begins to sag to the south. Could be some areas of showers or thunderstorms, especially Friday. Oop, let me go back to that. Especially Friday afternoon. Run that through one more time for you. Yeah, but then that's out of the way in time for a fantastic weekend. I told you yesterday I was sticking with the dry forecast. I'm going to continue to stick with that. Looks pretty good as the weekend rolls along. And watch the dry air. Look at these dew point temperatures here on the European model. This is Friday, but then look what happens as we get into Saturday and Sunday. Boy, those dew points drop, and that is a really dry, comfortable air mass. You combine low humidity with highs like this. There's Saturday's highs. There's Sunday's highs. Really, really nice across the region. Tropics remaining quiet. Really no big issues to be concerned about across the Gulf, the Caribbean, or the Western Atlantic Ocean. All right, let me show you some of the higher resolution modeling here. Here's that disturbance beginning today over Minnesota that buckles southeastward. That's what carves out that big upper level low of the western Atlantic. Here's your height field, still pretty hot across the southern tier of the country, but then the ridge builds out west. There's your upper low offshore. And you see some flat kind of ridging trying to develop in here toward the middle of next week on the European. Now, let me show you what happens on the Canadian model. Again, this is Saturday. This is Sunday. Really good stuff. So again, that dry scenario looks like it's going to win the day for the weekend. Now today, there's your scattered thunderstorms. A few thunderstorms possible tomorrow, but certainly don't see much there on the GFS model. There's Friday, that low pressure buckling to the south, that high pressure beginning to move in. So it could be a much cooler day, some northeast winds kicking in late in the day, chances of some showers or storms. And then there you go, that's Saturday. There's Sunday. There's Monday, looking pretty good before we eventually see the chance of a few thunderstorms trying to creep in a little bit later in the week, next week. But altogether, again, great weekend on tap. If you have outdoor plans for the weekend ahead, most of North Carolina, I think it's going to be a really nice mid-June weekend. All right, that is it for today's edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody have a great day, and God bless.